focus to the live pictures that are now coming in of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's on a 3-day state visit to Sri Lanka. And he was accorded a special welcome at the Independence Square in Colombo, as he was welcomed by President Dissanayake with a ceremonial reception. And bilateral discussions are on to foster partnership for a shared future and mutual prosperity for both of the countries and their people. Rishabh is connected with us live right now. Rishabh, we are looking at the exchange of the MoUs that have been signed between the two countries. Can you share more updates, please?
Well, if you can hear me now, there are 8 MoUs that are to be signed between India and Sri Lanka. And what we are given to understand now that MoUs in defense sector, which is very, very important. Remember, India and Sri Lanka has a very, not so pleasant defense history. The IPKF episode between India and Sri Lanka didn't go down well 35 years ago. Now, it would be the first defense MoU that India and Sri Lanka would be signing after 3.5 decades. Apart from that, energy supply is another thing that will be signed. Then, digitalization is something that India and Sri Lanka is ready to sign this time around. And what we are given to understand that, all these MoUs would be signed. Earlier today, if we talk about the significance of this visit, Independence Square is an important venue in Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was accorded a ceremonial welcome at Independence Square, and that is, maybe the first time that an head of government has been accorded a ceremonial welcome at Independence Square. I was just going through the newspapers of Colombo, and if I can show it to my viewers as well, this is how the images on the first page of Colombo newspapers are looking like, all full of welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So this is how Sri Lanka is welcoming Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Sri Lanka. It's a 3-day visit, and it has a lot of elements to it. The first happened to be the ceremonial welcome yesterday when Prime Minister landed in Colombo. It was raining cats and dogs, and even then there were 6 top ministers of the Dissanayake government who were at the airport to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. After this, Sri Lanka. India and Sri Lanka has already signed the defense MoU now. Here, the pictures are coming in on your screen is the defense MoU, which is a trilateral defense MoU. Apart from that, India is also signing a trilateral MoU for Trincomalee with UAE as well, development of Trincomalee. So all these MoUs are being signed as Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Dissanayake are there at the signing of MoU and agreement. So all these are now happening. We'll hear from both the leaders in a short while. And this showcase, this is the first head of government or head of state visit to Sri Lanka by any world leader after Dissanayake took over the regime last year. Remember, he is one of the young leaders who have taken over, and the election happened under the shadows of the economic crisis that Sri Lanka went through. India was one of the first responders. Sri Lankan government has time and again accorded its thankfulness toward India, that how India helped Sri Lanka to get over the economic crisis. And now Prime Minister Narendra Modi there. Remember, in December last year, President Dissanayake was here in India as well. Back then also a lot was discussed between the two countries, and now both the countries signing MoUs to ensure the discussions go ahead positively and progressively.
All right, Varshni, who is connected with us from Colombo itself, as Times Now is reporting on the Prime Minister's engagements today that are taking place. Varshni, the Sri Lanka leg of the Prime Minister's trip is expected to yield several outcomes, including when it comes to the formal bilateral agreements and the potential defense cooperation MoU. Why does it stand out?
Well, if you see, India is Sri Lanka's #1 trade partner. Sri Lanka is mostly dependent on India when it comes to its trade. And with this particular new, additional trade agreements that are getting signed, it is going to vastly improve the standards of the trade between the two countries, and it is going to benefit both the countries out of this. And apart from that, the defense agreement, our colleague Rishabh was mentioning about how after the IPKF was withdrawn from Sri Lanka, there has not really been any kind of a defense relations between these two countries. And now with this particular defense agreement, there is going to be a joint defense exercise that is going to be unfolding in the both of these countries. And particularly what we are aiming at this point is to bring in a lot of Sri Lankan defense personnel to India to give them first-hand training and operations to then come back to Sri Lanka and deploy themselves, because India and Sri Lanka are the two countries which are very unique neighboring countries when compared to the rest of the neighbors. As India always speaks about how neighbors first, Sri Lanka has a unique maritime border that it shares with India, which makes it more peculiar and interesting to have a defense agreement with. So this is also going to vastly impact on both the borders of India and Sri Lanka. And apart from that, energy, power kind of agreements and digitalization. What Sri Lanka at this point is looking forward as a support from India is mainly about the resources and the inputs that they can get from digitalization. What we have back there in India when it comes to the digitalization is not yet that.
Anurag Kumara Disanayake. Sampur Solar Power Plant is a 50-50 joint venture between NTPC Limited of India and Ceylon Electricity Board of Sri Lanka. NTPC and CEB jointly incorporated Trincomalee Power Company Limited to develop the 120 megawatt project. Phase 1 of the project will be of 50 megawatt capacity, built over 500 acres of land. This solar project will bring in investment of approximately $100 million to Trincomalee in the eastern province.
All right, we are expecting formal statements that would be made by both of the leaders there. But Rishabh, exactly why does this MOU stand out? Does it also reflect a strategic shift when it comes to India-Sri Lanka military relations beyond the shadows of past interventions, and of course when it comes to China's interest?
Well, if we talk about, the defense MOU that has been signed, a joint exercise, as Vashni was also mentioning, back in 1980s and 90s, the way IPKF episode backfired on India and the whole Tamil separatism in Sri Lanka was shaping up. Back then, India tried to help Sri Lanka, sent a peacekeeping force in Sri Lanka. The consequences of that step from India was far-reaching. We lost our Prime Minister as well to Tamil separatism back then, and former Prime Minister for that matter, Rajiv Gandhi, in 1991. But after that, there hasn't been any defense agreements or defense MOUs that have been even spoken about between India and Sri Lanka. Yes, India has been helping Sri Lanka with trade, business, economy, infrastructure, connectivity, and whatnot, health, energy supplies as well. But defense is the thing that is standing out this time around. A joint exercise being signed between India and Sri Lanka is something that is very, very important. India and Sri Lanka have a shared maritime border. India is closest responder when it comes to Sri Lanka or countries in the region. We have seen, during that 2022 crisis, that how India stood
list as well when it comes to these 7 MOUs that have been signed between the two nations, and one of them being the most important one is that of the MOU between the Government of Republic of India and the Government of Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, and that is on defense cooperation. Multiple of them, including that, has been signed between the two nations as far as when it comes to the officials that have been exchanging the MOUs in the presence of Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and the President of Sri Lanka, Disanayake. We'll continue as far as the updates that are now coming in. For the moment, Rishabh and Vashni, thank you very much for joining in. Expecting a formal statement soon. Back after a short break.